The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is the main event.
This is the main event, Mark's Podcast. I am your first host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, cat dad, and podcast guy, Dudley. I am Troy. And with me, as always, is the main event collector and figure hunting warrior. He's the ECW Encyclopedia of Classic Wrestling, and the Jerry Lynn to my Rob Van Dam. It's Greg. What's up, Greg?
I mean, the Chad Kroger of Nickelback.
Hell yeah, you sell out arenas, man.
Remember when Alex Shelley called Jerry Lynn that?
Yes. Well, and then, and you know, it makes you wonder. It's like they both chopped their hair off at about the same time, I think. You know,
yeah,
give or
right.
take. So it's like I don't know if we've ever seen them in the same room at the same time.
Minnesota is right next to Canada. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. They all say a boot and hoose and stuff like that. So you know, it could work. God. But what did not work, ladies and gents, was the show we are covering today. This one, I don't remember like how I found it and why I was like, yeah, I'll put that on the books. Because
I want to point that out. This is all your fault, by the way.
Yeah, well, I wanted to mix it up with an ECW show.
I don't believe in throwing good friends under the bus, but for this one, I will make the exception. Ass.
Yeah, well, I'll take full blame for this one. I mean, I think everybody knows that Greg is never going to pick the ECW show, so there's that. But also, I don't know, man. Like, I wanted to mix it up, throw something besides WWE and WCW in there, and yeah, this happened. I don't know.
Were there no more UWF shows to do, or what?
Yeah, I'm not exactly champing at the bit to cover any more of that stuff. Like, it's like, I don't know if I'd rather cover that or ECW. Like, that's how bad it is. But the whole thing with this one is we watch this stuff so that you don't necessarily have to. So you're welcome, America, I guess. Well, not just America. You're welcome, everybody who listens to us. We have some hits over in, of all places, Singapore and India. Apparently they love the main event marks over there. So thank you for listening and tuning in. This one we're going to have fun with because it's, well, it's ECW. All you can do is either cry from laughter or cry from having to watch this. But we're going to try to lighten things up a little bit on you. But either way, we do have a lot of news and notes to get into. But first, time out here real quick to let you know that the Main Event Marks is sponsored by Swift Lifestyles. They are clean energy drinks and focus enhancers, great tasting vitamins, and big brain nootropics that are made and shipped from the USA. Go to swiftlifestyles.com and use our special promo code Main Event Marks, all one word, to get 15% off your order. It's Main Event Marks, all one word, to get 15% off your order at checkout. But now we're going to take our first break. On the other end of this, we're going to be talking about the news and notes from February of '99. Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. Get ready to rumble in your new Main Event Marks merchandise. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, masks, hats, stickers, pins, and much more on our Redbubble store. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com. You can also pick up some awesome clothing items with the latest updated show graphics on our Bonfire store. That's bonfire.com/store/main event marks. Support your favorite retro wrestling podcast and pick up some cool swag on our Bonfire and Redbubble stores. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com and bonfire.com/store/main event marks.
By God, somebody's interrupting the Main Event Marks. Sit down, JR. It's just me, Kyle Sullivan, aka Shaggy Von Doom, your host of Here in Puckburg on the Hockey Podcast Network. I know, a hockey show on Main Event Marks. Who would have thought? This is an invasion angle. Somewhere between the Nexus and when WCW tried to invade WWE, somewhere in there. But I'm over here just telling you that one half of your tag team champions over here, Greg, he told his story of his love for the game of hockey over on my show. And if you'd like to hear that story, all you have to do is search Here in Puckburg wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. In the meantime, Shagamania's got to go run wild on some other hockey show. So, just remember, quote the Raven, nevermore, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and oh yeah!
Survive by web shoes.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/main event marks.
And we're back.
We're back. Sorry, I'm kind of sick. I can't do it well this week.
Yeah, he's powering through. He's doing the best he can. And
I've stolen TJ's gimmick. The boy's sick.
Yeah, you've been sick a lot more than I have in the past couple months. So there you go. I don't know what it is, man. I mostly get sick in like the fall time. Like
finally checking
fall. Out. Yeah, like every damn fall I get sick. So, ugh. Real quick, we want to let you know that the Main Event Marks is sponsored by Shocked Energy. Shocked Energy is a healthier alternative to traditional energy drinks that gives the energy that gamers need while in a long session without skimping on their health. Their products come in a powder form and you mix them into water. You can either choose from green apple or watermelon. You can also try both if you get their sample kit. Use our special link that is down in the podcast description, or you can simply go to shockedenergy.com at checkout. Use the promo code MAINEVENT, all one word, to save 10% on your order. That's promo code MAINEVENT, and you're going to save 10% at checkout. Do you like your coffee like you like your podcasts? Gimmick and politics free? Well, so do we here at the Main Event Marks, and so do the guys and gals at Coffee Brand Coffee, where they ditch the gimmicks. You see, when you buy your coffee from other roasters, chances are that they've been sitting on the shelf for heaven knows how long. Don't rob yourself of freshness. At Coffee Brand Coffee, they roast to order, ensuring that you get the freshest coffee possible. And as Greg will tell you, that's what counts. Coffee Brand Coffee offers bagged coffee as well as K-Cups. And for the non-coffee people, they offer a variety of teas and cocos. Just click on the link down in the podcast description or go to coffeebrandcoffee.com and use our promo code MAINEVENT, all one word, at checkout to get 5% off your order. That's coffeebrandcoffee.com and use the promo code MAINEVENT to save 5% at checkout. Either way, we do have a lot of news and notes to cover today, so we might as well dive into it. This first story is a major... What the hell are you cracking today?
Ginger ale.
Oh, well, that makes sense. What brand of ginger ale? Anything good?
Canada Dry.
Okay, that I was going to say. If you said Verner's, I was about to say, ugh.
I don't know what the hell that is.
That's like the other brand. Like you always
we
see
have Canada Dry and Schweppes.
That's one too. That one's not too bad. Canada Dry, I think,
the same.
On the contrary, I can taste the difference, because if you hand me a Verner's, which is the other, like the second biggest brand, I think, you hand me a Canada Dry, I'll drink that all damn day long. And for all you alcohol drinkers out there, it's not too bad in a Moscow Mule either. That's Jim Ross's favorite drink. But
Boomer Sooner.
This is a major death, but not necessarily to us Americans, us filthy Americans. But the reaction in Japan to the death of Giant Baba has been huge, with comparisons to the death of Elvis Presley and John Lennon here in America. Baba was considered a national hero in Japan. Every TV network and more than 200 other reporters camped outside of Baba's home during the private funeral service. Uncle Dave.
That's disgusting. Why do people think that's okay?
I go back and forth because it's like, as long as you're not harassing people, like, I want to get your word on it, whatever. But it's like, if you're covering it for the nation, you're like, oh, well, you can see outside, mourning and whatever. It's like, All right, I kind of get that. They do that for royalty in England and stuff like that. So, like I
they
said,
do it for royalties
yeah, right.
and their boss.
Yep. Well, so like I said, it really depends on how they're covering it. If they're harassing the loved ones, that's pretty effed up.
Well, the part that got me is when you said it was at the funeral. You can let that go and then do it after, maybe even before.
Yeah, right.
At the funeral, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I know. I've known people that have filmed funerals, and I'm like, at what point are you gonna want to go back and watch this?
Yeah, right? If they were airing Jay Briscoe's funeral on YouTube, I couldn't watch that.
I saw that too. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I kind of understand, like, people want to, show support, whatever, but it's like, do you really want to watch it? Like, it's a funeral, man. Like, I don't know. But either way, Uncle Dave says that it's tempting for Americans, from the Americans to view Baba in comparison to someone like Hulk Hogan here in America. But in Japan, Baba was far bigger. Uncle Dave compares it to more like a cultural icon, such as Babe Ruth or Frank Sinatra, and that he's arguably one of the top 5 most famous athletes in post-World War II Japan.
Why is that the thing?
What,
post-World War II?
I wonder that too. I'm like, was there a thing like big time athletes in Japan before World War II? I mean, I don't know. I mean, World War II is kind of the tipping point where Japan went from being like Imperial Japan, whatever, with an emperor, and then they like kind of changed to more of a democracy after that. But I don't know what that has to do with their athletes. Either way, more than a week after his death, it was still front page news in many newspapers. A telegram company similar to Western Union actually had to shut down for several days because they ran out of paper from people sending telegram condolences to Baba's family. To which I asked,
Wow.
What effing century is this?
Whip out the phone and send a text?
Yeah, well, I realize this is 99, so texting wasn't a thing. But at the same time, like...
Email was a thing in 99?
Really?
Welcome, you've got mail.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, instant messenger, yeah, okay. I'm just like, you know how the thing was always, oh, Japan is going to beat us in the tech race and whatever, and Japan has all the best tech and whatever. By the way, we're going to send a bunch of telegrams. Like, what? Like, one thing doesn't compute with the other. It's just, I don't know. But Baba was very private, and almost no one knew that he was even sick until the very end. There are rumors that he learned of his cancer as far back as 5 years ago, but kept it mostly to himself until the very end. And then we see that with Chadwick Boseman real recently.
Oh.
Like, nobody knew he was sick whatsoever. And then that's why when I heard that he
did
died,
all that work with cancer. That's crazy.
I know. And didn't say a word about it. Like, gosh. That's why when I heard he died, I was like, oh my gosh, was it at like a car wreck or something like that? Nope. He was sick for a long time, just kept it to himself. I think Norm Macdonald did something similar. Like, he didn't really tell people that he was dying. And then just one day he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm dying. It's like, and then he's gone. Like, wow. I mean, cool. You know, you're not like fishing for sympathy, clearly. And they still did a lot of good work while they were suffering. So, but either way, certainly by the time he was wrestling his last match, his body was already riddled with cancer at that point. Baba's wife, Motoko Baba, had a reputation of the most feared woman in the business, with many people calling her the bad cop to her husband's good cop role. She reportedly tried to keep her husband's death secret, and even when rumors started to spread that he had died, she denied it to people who contacted her. But when it became clear
Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's like, no, he's resting in the house. He's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, why? That one's weird. But when it became clear that the secret couldn't be contained anymore, and newspapers were planning to report on it the next day, she held a press conference to confirm it. She did an interview this week to tell her version of the story. She claims that when Baba wrestled his final match in December, he still believed that he had a bad cold, but she claims that doctors had already told her that it was terminal cancer and that he didn't know yet. That sounds implausible. So you knew, but he didn't? I don't know what the medical laws are like over in Japan, but I don't think that could happen here in America. That somebody else knows your diagnosis, but you don't.
I don't even think they're allowed to share your diagnosis with anyone else unless you tell them they can.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, and I don't think there's a version of that where it's like, tell them, but don't tell me. Okay. But either way, she says that the cancer spread over the next 2 months and that on January 30th, he was told he only had hours to live. And of course, he died the next day. As for the future, Misawa will be taking over as the new president of All Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's believed that his wife will remain involved with the business side as well. There's been talks of doing a big tribute show at the upcoming Tokyo Dome show in May, and all the other Japanese promotions, even New Japan, have volunteered to take part and help. But Misawa has turned them all down, saying that it would be purely an All Japan show because that's what Baba would have wanted. I mean, cool of them to offer. Shows that they respected him, but dang. That was like the thing where like I'm sure Antonio Inoki was kind of broken up about it because even though they were rivals, they like came up in the business together. And he was another one that when he passed away, it was like a national day of mourning throughout the entire country. You want to talk about cultural icons. Speaking of cultural icons.
I understand that more than I do the Jay Briscoe shutting down Delaware.
Well, that one, I mean, over in Japan, they were like huge for years, their national TV and whatever. I mean, Jay Briscoe kind of was, but it was more like regional.
Right. So, that's why I'm like, Japan was a little less shocking than that.
Yeah, right. Sandy Fork must just be a really, really small backwoods part of Delaware, man. That's the only thing I can think. And I guess he was a big member of the community there. You didn't know about a lot of this stuff until after he died. And then it's like, oh yeah, he did this and that and whatever.
Probably
it's
a good thing.
Wow. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to spread it around that a famous wrestler is, pretty easy to come by and, walking
like
around
the president
Delaware.
there.
Yeah, right. But from one cultural icon.
I don't know how does Jay Briscoe weigh in on this.
Right. Yeah, from one cultural icon in Japan to one in Mexico now. El Santo, one of the biggest national heroes in the history of wrestling, even bigger in Mexico than Baba was in Japan, was honored with a show marking the 15th anniversary of his death in Mexico last week. I want to pause there real quick. Somebody is that big of an icon in your country that you've basically made a holiday after them. 15 years since his death. Like,
yeah, I was just say 15 years is a big number too.
Yeah, like they were still doing it over a decade and a half after. That's like, I mean, obviously he was a wrestler, not a civil rights icon. But that's like here in America, we have Martin Luther King Day to honor the day he died. Like that's huge. Like a wrestler is that big a deal. But despite
that's not Bill Mascaris, by the way.
Yeah, right. Well, Bill Mascaris was like, I don't know, he would maybe number 2. I'd say. Like El Santo was basically like a god in Mexico. I mean, they talk about it here where he was even bigger in Mexico than Baba was in Japan. Like he like started it all, I think, like as far as like cultural lucha icons. He was freaking everywhere.
Well, you gotta remember Lucha Libre is like a religion in Mexico.
Oh yeah. Well, he's so famous.
I mean, they take that as serious as like here in America we do football.
Right. Well, he was so huge in Mexico. After even all these decades after his death, he was in that movie Coco.
Is that who that was? I want to go on record, by the way, and say that's one of the greatest Pixar movies ever made.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I loved it. But, yeah, you remember they actually say, they're like, El Santo, like when he walks up. Like, obviously, like anybody who hasn't seen the movie, he walks up. While. Yeah, he's in the afterlife. He's got he's all skeleton except for his cape and his mask. And,
that's who it is?
Yeah. And he like walks up with a girl on his arm and they're like, El Santo, come right this way. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, that's pretty cool. But
so he's literally bigger than Day of the Dead there, which is a huge thing in Mexico, by the way.
Yep. Well, despite not being an officially recognized holiday, the day of El Santo's death is a big deal nationwide every year. CMLL held a big ceremony that was attended by several thousand fans and all 10 of Santos' sons. God dang, 10 sons. He was busy.
No, not one of them was wrestling, I bet.
There was one named El Io del Santo that he was kind of big, but people said he was not as nice as his father. He was kind of, he had the air.
Richard?
Yeah. Oh, it was one of those. Well, I'm El Santo's son, so therefore give me everything. And they're like, yeah, you're not your dad, dude. But of course, this was with this being wrestling, they still turned it into an angle. When El Io del Santo, who I just mentioned, was shown visiting his father's tomb, he was attacked by Scorpio Jr. and set up a feud with him. Oh, God. I can't even imagine.
That's kind of gross.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. Well, what's worse? That, where, I mean, it's like, they're not necessarily crapping on El Santo, or and I realize he wasn't dead, kayfabe dead, but the funeral scene with Big Show and Big Boss Man, where he goes through, ha ha, your dad is dead, your dad is dead.
It's not okay that we laugh at that.
Oh, so effed up. You either got to laugh or cry from laughing. It's just, God. But
it's okay to laugh once you realize his dad was really dead.
Yeah, right. They made a whole angle out of, I mean, it wouldn't have been better if the guy actually died. It's like they made a whole angle out of, it's like, hey, let's pretend that your dad actually died, and then we're going to make fun of him. Like, what?
And then we're going to call you a bastard on live TV.
God. Yeah. We're going to have Big Boss Man, like, follow me here. We're going to have the Big Boss Man roll in during the funeral in a Blues Brothers car, and then he's going to hook up the coffin.
If anybody's hearing this and they're thinking it's a joke, go look it up.
Yeah, no, this is
real.
It unfortunately is. And post Russo, by the way, this was not his doing.
It could have been. I don't know. He left in October, and it was like right around then ish.
Yeah. Well, where he's going to pull in his Blues Brothers mobile, yelling, like making fun of your dad being dead through the megaphone, and then he's going to hook chains to the coffin and drag it off, and you're going to jump on the coffin and be pulled. God.
And then he's going to flip off the coffin too, do like a damn near headstand, which is actually pretty impressive for a 500-pound dude.
Yeah, right.
Go back and watch it. It's crazy.
We actually there's a clip on our YouTube page if anybody goes and searches through our videos about it. Yeah, we have talked about this before. I put some video evidence in there. You guys can go check out. So, yikes. Anyway, Ultimo Dragon started a new promotion called Tori Human. I guess I don't know. There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason I'm covering this. I'll get to it at the end. But he started in Japan that debuted with 5 successful shows, all sold out, and ended with a major interpromotional angle with Michinoku Pro, and featured the surprise return of Taka Michinoku from the WWF. This promotion only lasts about 5 years under the Tori Human name before ultimately morphing into Dragon Gate, which I think still exists today. I believe so. But either way, Shinya Hashimoto will require surgery for a broken nose that he suffered at the January 4th show when Noya Ogawa beat the brakes off of him. Somebody getting injured from strong style? Tell me another one. So getting to America now in the big promotions, there's a lot to cover from WWF here this week. With Raw preempted this week because of that damn dog show, Nitro did nearly record ratings, even though it was a terrible show. Nitro's ratings, without competing with Raw, did a 5.67, which is about the same rating that Raw has been doing every week when they do have competition from Nitro. Anyway, it was an awful show, and the quarter-hour ratings pretty much proved it, with fans dropping out in droves during most segments throughout the show. This was early. Well, this was February of.
What was the
99?
card? 99. Let's see. Flair's the president and Hogan's the champion, I think.
Okay, so the opening match was Rey Mysterio defeating Blitzkrieg. Booker T defeated Fit Finlay. Barry Windham and Kurt Hennig beat Brian Adams and Horace in the World Tag Title tournament.
Oh yeah, that's the new NWO, the real NWO.
Oh, well, yeah, he's the Hogan. Diamond Dallas Page defeated Kenny Chaos. Vincent defeated The Cat. Roddy Piper defeated Bret the Hitman Hart for the U.S. title. And then the main event was Ric Flair and Mongo taking on the Outsiders. And that ended in a no contest.
You're just sitting here proving your point.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that Bret and Piper match was probably the only palatable thing on that entire show.
Is that for the United States title?
Yeah.
I remember that match.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshots from the show now. It's just, this was after the NWO came together. Okay. Oh, yeah, because the Finger Poke of Doom happened last month, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, oh, gosh. Yeah, and this was in Buffalo, New York. Yeah. So if anybody wants to go back and watch it, don't watch it.
Before you watch it, we should tell you, don't watch it.
Right.
Shout out to whoever gets that.
Well, even though it was preempted in the U.S., Raw was still happening and aired live in Canada. Damn Canadians. But it will be airing in the U.S. later in the week. It was also taped in Canada at the Sky Dome in Toronto and was the largest crowd in the history of the Monday Night Wars, with over 41,000 fans in the building, and set a bunch of Canadian attendance and gate records also. Earl Hebner got the most heat of anyone in the company and was greeted with loud chants of, "You screwed Bret."
Let the past die.
Yeah. Well, what was his response to that? Damn right I did, or
Yeah,
whatever?
right, I did.
Yeah. He made a shirt that said that. Oh, Lord. Also, a new valet named Ivory debuted, who used to be Tina Ferrari in Glow back in the 80s.
I think she's in one of the archives as that name. It's one of our shows in the archives, isn't it?
Yeah, one of our Clash, not Clash, Super Clash. That was it. I think it was Super Clash 1, maybe? Might have been Super Clash 3. Either way, one of them. She's in some Battle Royal or whatever the hell. But anyway, so the WrestleMania 15 main event will likely end up as some sort of deal with Austin, Rock, and Mankind for the title.
Yeah, it would. But not, Mankind was not involved for the title. He was a referee.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I mean, kinda. I mean, do we give Meltzer half a point here? Right?
Kind of.
Yeah, he's not
But like
completely wrong.
as a recording of this, last week I was like, oh, the Super Bowl's gonna be some combination of the Niners, the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. Are you really calling much?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who else. I mean, I guess it could have involved Triple H or Big Show, but I don't know.
Seeing as Big Show's the champ at the moment, yeah. Oh, no,
Right.
I guess he wasn't. No, he wasn't
was
at the moment of this.
Yeah.
When
did he win the title? February 20 or February 12th?
Yeah, he's already lost it.
He won and lost it within a... Wait.
2 months.
He was about to pop up at St. Valentine's Day
It wasn't even
Massacre.
2 months. He won it at... Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I'm way behind. I'm thinking later than you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I don't think he's even
Because we
debuted
were
yet.
talking
Or,
about
well...
that funeral thing with Big Boss Man. I got confused, so I got fast
Yeah,
forward,
right.
which is later this year.
Big Show's had a weird career in WWF. I'll just say that.
Oh, yeah, only there, though.
Yeah. Well, these next two stories about the Road Dogg are not great, but he's pulled the nose up. So, Road Dogg is...
You didn't watch Impact. You didn't watch Dynamite last night.
No. Why? What did Road Dogg have to do with Dynamite?
Well, it wasn't him, but the Ass Boys were talking crap to their father and talked about him going and dousing some pills. I was like,
What
wow.
the hell?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, about that,
I just flash you back to it.
Road Dogg is expected to check into rehab this week. It will probably be out until WrestleMania. WWF recently did some drug testing, and Road Dogg failed, and then he voluntarily went to management and asked for help.
Wait a minute, he didn't say FWE walk off?
I know, right? Well, if Jarrett...
You want me to get help? Go to hell.
Right. Well, if Jeff Jarrett was there in his ear, he probably would have, but yeah.
I love Jeff Hardy before anybody. thinks I'm talking crap about him.
Yeah,
I'm like a mega fan of his, and it hurts that he's going through this.
He's went through it forever. Like,
I know.
The dude just can't
feel bad
get
when you do
clean.
it yourself.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it just sucks to see.
Oh, I know. But his planned match against Al Snow at next week's pay-per-view is off. Oh. That's one that would have put
Are you
asses
sure? I
in
thought it
seats.
happened.
Maybe it did.
I thought that was the one they went in the river.
Yeah, I mean...
Or wait, no, that might have been Hardcore Holly. No, I'm confused.
It was Holly.
Division
That's
had
right.
everybody.
Yeah, it was because this is a show, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, now in the archives. That's a show where they were in Tennessee and they brawled out by the river or whatever the F. It was definitely Holly and Snow. I remember that.
Oh, no, yeah. Road Dogg was one in the snow, in the actual snow.
Right.
This is all real, folks.
I think that Raw is now in the archives too, but I just don't remember off the top of my head which one that was.
Something in '99, and knowing you was probably in the Georgia Dome.
Maybe. Well, no, it couldn't have been.
In case people who listen to this couldn't tell, TJ has a hard on for the Georgia Dome.
Well, it's just it's like it's closed down now, and it was a historic thing. It's like it's kind of like if, let's say, Nitro was ever in Madison Square Garden, I would have put that on the schedule too, because like that would have been hardcore middle finger to Vince. But it couldn't. That one couldn't have been at the Georgia Dome because you just said there was snow.
That Ring of Honor beat AEW, WCW, and everything else to the Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's nuts. Well, they had to bide their time.
Do it, but Ring of Honor could.
Well, they had to bide their time because well, Vince didn't stop going there until the Barclays was built, and then he was like, we got a better building to go to that's cheaper. Bye.
I don't know what's better. I've been to both. I don't know what would be considered better.
Yeah, well,
did you go? Did we go in the garden when we went? Did you go in there?
I did not. I walked around it, but well, they said it costs more to film. Kind
of hurts to say this, but I went to the garden with every New York trip I went to, besides with you. I don't know why we didn't go.
I don't think there was anything going on when we went, but it was August, so yeah, I don't know, but maybe. Or maybe Billy Joel was there. I don't even remember now. But either way,
there's no Knicks, there's no Rangers. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it would be.
Yeah. But speaking of the Road Dogg, he had a pretty bad scare last week at a house show. The top rope was loose, and it resulted in him taking an unplanned bump over the top, and he landed on his head. His right arm went totally numb. He got back in the ring, but the Undertaker immediately pinned him, and then the show was held up for about 15 minutes while they put him in a cervical collar and took him out on a stretcher. Luckily, it was just a stinger, and he was released later that night, and he hasn't been wrestling since.
Damn, man.
Yeah, it's a bad time. I remember it wasn't quite this bad, but close. It could have been. Jim Cornette talked about when they had Mark Henry down in OVW to train. WWF insisted that they use their old rings, whatever, with real ropes. And Cornette said he hates real ropes. He likes cables better. And Mark Henry hit the ropes, and they effing snapped, and he fell out of the ring.
Oh, I wonder why. He's not a big fella.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's another thing with real ropes. Like, they break. You're not going to snap a cable. Like, I've been in a ring with like real cables. I've never felt like real ring ropes in a ring, but I've been in a ring with cable, and those MFers are not going to break. Now, you might break the corner some way, somehow, but you're not going to break the rope itself. Yeah. But getting back to this guy, the Giants WWF contract starts on February 10th, and he will be appearing at the Toy Fair event for WWF on the same day. He may be debuting as soon as this week's St. Valentine's Day Massacre pay-per-view, and he was. Although his first major match won't be taking place until at least WrestleMania, due to the recent
on a Raw prior.
Say what?
Or on a Monday Night Raw prior against Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I remember. Didn't he get disqualified?
No, I think Austin beats him clean.
No, and
which is kind of shocking in hindsight.
I mean, on WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he like choke slams the referee into. I think he choke slams Mick Foley, who's a referee. I think he into chairs or.
He choke slams Mick Foley, who is going to be the ref if he wins. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, yeah, and because Mick was going to be in that match, and then if he won, he got to be the referee in the main event, whatever. And the Big Show effing choke slams him into chairs and gets his idiot ass disqualified. And you and I were now in the archives, by the way. You and I were like, why? Like, this is like he got disqualified on purpose because he's an idiot. So, like,
well, he was turning on the corporation eventually, anyway. So, but yeah,
but it's like it just at the time he was still all in with the corporation, so it just made him look
hashtag all in.
And that was his second pay-per-view appearance in the WWF. And the first time he effed up, too, because he threw Austin into the cage wall and busted it open. And
you
Austin
thought
won.
This was the only guy to ever trip over his own dick.
He just made the Big Show look like. I'm like, who are the writers coming up with this? Like, good Lord, he looks like a moron. Whatever. But
and then they would make a whole thing out of it with Shane McMahon calling him a moron.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't wrong. But due to the recent liposuction surgery he had, Giant hasn't been able to train, so he's not in great shape and is still heavier than they want him to be. Yeah, that's going to be an issue for, like, ever for his career.
Until 2008.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. I remember, like, wasn't it Bruce Pritchard that said he just wanted to be known as the big nasty bastard? And they were like, we can't call you that.
And then they did. They made a shirt for it.
Yeah, but that wasn't like his actual name. It was just like a nickname or whatever. Like that's whatever. But well, Bruce Pritchard said he also didn't get it when Vince came up with the name Big Show, and he's like, "The hell is that? Like, what? Why are we calling him the Big Show? Like." And he's like, now that's what everybody calls him, and that's what everybody knows him as. So, you know,
no more BS.
Yeah, right.
See, it's funny. We see her call the guy an idiot, but like, he's ripping off Tony Khan all that money just to sit around on a damn YouTube show and do commentary. He can't be that dumb.
And dress up like Captain Insano again. So there you go. Just for the record, anybody listening, I'm not calling the man an idiot. I'm calling his character that was written for him an idiot.
Yeah, because clearly the man is not an idiot.
Right, yeah. Hey, whatever. He doesn't have to take any damn bumps. He just has to sit there, be huge, and, talking to a mic. Good for him. Speaking of being huge, but apparently there's a lot of heat with WWF and Sable right now. Both Sable and Mark Mero reportedly asked for their releases from the new 3-year contracts that they just signed a couple of months ago, but both were turned down. Well, yeah, if like you just re-upped a couple of months ago for 3 years, and then you're like, I want out. Like, no.
Probably being overpaid anyways.
Right. WWF knows that they're going to get a lot of publicity out of the upcoming Sable Playboy issue, so they don't want her leaving right when it comes out. They have also complained that Sable never trained to be a wrestler and didn't come to the WWF to be one, and that she doesn't want to wrestle. The word is that Sable made a ton of money from the Playboy shoot and is in a position where she financially doesn't need the WWF right now. Also, Sable, Chyna, and Deborah were on a TSN show this week, and the conversation got heated with Sable and Chyna shooting at each other, and Sable accusing Chyna of using steroids and trashing her for plastic surgery. A lot of people in the WWF...
Oh, I want to be throwing stones.
Right. A lot of people in the WWF sided with Chyna on this, feeling like Sable went way over the line.
Right after getting denied a request for release? I don't know why.
Yeah.
Something doesn't compute there.
If anybody goes back and watches, Chyna is clearly in character, and Sable is taking all of her comments like it's a shoot. Like, oh God.
F and shoot, bro.
We talk about this a little bit more in depth in a clip that's now on our YouTube page. You guys can go search for that as well. But
not right now.
Yeah.
Finish the show first.
Right, and I love how China and Sable are just sitting there throwing barbs at each other for a shoot. Meanwhile, Deborah's just sitting there like, don't get me involved. And yeah, to your point, if somebody's going to go after somebody else about plastic surgery, Sable probably shouldn't be the one throwing them stones from her glass house.
Not that I'm not okay with the work.
Yeah, right. Hey, applause to the doctor, but whatever. And following that up with this, since he can't get out of his contract, Mark Mero recently pitched an idea of basically doing his old Johnny B. Bad gimmick from WCW, but WWF shot it down.
I thought that's what they wanted to begin with.
Yeah,
they couldn't.
I was going to say, I don't know how accurate this is because, well, I will say this. They were leaving out a few details because maybe he did pitch it and WWF did shoot it down because they were like, why do you think you're Marvelous Mark Mero right now? Why do you think we made you the Wild Man? Because we can't make you Johnny B. Bad. WCW owns that trademark.
I thought Little Richard owned it.
Yeah. Well, that was like, this is the thing. Like, Vince wanted Johnny B. Bad. He did not want Mark Mero. But then apparently, it's like, you would think at that point Vince would know how copyright works. But apparently
he's the king of it now.
Yeah, right. But like maybe he thought, well, we can get around it. No, sorry. But I don't understand because like people get around it now with like you basically see that like people doing the same exact gimmick everywhere they go. All they have to do is like change their name and maybe slightly alter stuff they do.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand how that works nowadays, but back in the 90s, Scott Hall shows up with a toothpick and slick back hair, and they're like, wow, copyright infringement.
Well, the accent, too.
Yeah, right. Well, I like how Bischoff pointed out, he's like, if our lawyers were worth a damn at Turner, he said, they would have, I don't know, maybe looked at footage of the last time Scott Hall was in WCW, where he was walking around with a toothpick in his mouth and the same hairstyle. You could have thrown that in their face, but no.
Well, the problem is they didn't go after WWE for doing it. Therefore, it became WWE's copyright. That kind of collapsed on.
Yeah, well, something like that because they didn't necessarily trademark like the look per se, the look brawl, but that's their whole thing. It's like, and but you can. I've seen lawsuits fall apart like that before, where it's like, well, they did it here first, and it's like, oh, well, I guess they did. All right, well, whatever. As long as it's not like identical, I guess. But nowadays, people do identical stuff. You've also got smart people that trademark their stuff, like, and don't let anybody else get a hold of it. So that's becoming.
Cardona?
Yep, Santino Marella did it. And they're CM Punk and Samoa Joe have been CM Punk and Samoa Joe everywhere they went. So good for them. But the reason The Rock has been wrestling in a shirt lately, you're going to love this one, is because he had chest surgery to fix his gynecomastia, I guess, quote, or bitch tit syndrome, as it's known in slang, says Uncle Dave.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, those are not my words. That is Uncle Dave putting that in print. God.
He's such an ass.
Right. First of all, this is the least of it, but I like how Uncle Dave says, as it's known in slang. Like, shut the F up. Like, how the hell would you know? But second of all, yeah, well, because, when I think of cool, somebody who knows slang and talks jive, Dave Meltzer comes to mind.
You know what they call it on Impractical Jokers?
What?
Bitch titties.
Good Lord. It took me forever, by the way, if anybody watches the Clerks movies or Jay and Silent Bob, any of that. There's the restaurant movies. It took me forever I was like, oh my God, that's like man boobs. Like I didn't even think about that at first. But Yeah, like really? Did Uncle
But
Dave
I'm
really?
just now getting it.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's a cow, so I thought moo, moobies, whatever. But yeah. But I just love how Uncle Dave is so confident in himself. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna in my newsletter say that The Rock has bitch tit syndrome because I'm cool. Whatever.
Well, his nephews think he is.
Yeah, right. Well, actually.
But my mom says I'm cool.
But speaking of him, along with The Rock, the Hardys, and Ernie Ladd, Ken Shamrock and Gene LaBelle also appeared on that 70s show episode this week.
It was a fun episode.
Yeah, didn't The Rock play his dad?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. I'd have to go back and watch the episode. I forget. Like, I remember that it happened. I just don't remember anything.
Ken Shamrock has like a white guy afro. It's hilarious.
Right.
Like some mutton chop. What do you call it? Sideburns.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of the line from Knocked Up where Katherine Heigl asks Seth Rogen, she's like, I love your hair. What do you put in it? And he's like, oh, it's called Jew.
He would.
I love that. So this effing story, man.
You mean jail? No, Jew.
Right. This story, man, I like teeing it up. Two right-wing... Huh?
All right, go for it.
Two right-wing religious groups, the American Family Association and Morality and Media, Inc., have complained about the WWF's Super Bowl commercial, specifically the brief shot of the two people who are shown making out in the background, and sent numerous complaints to the FCC. One of the groups put out a press release saying, quote, a woman was clearly shown on an office desk on her back with her skirt wide open, legs spread high in the air towards the viewing audience. Deep between her legs was a man thrusting his groin wildly in simulated sex. End quote.
I was more offended with the damn Broncos winning that Super Bowl, to be fair.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, my God. I couldn't even get through that sentence.
That's all real, by the way.
Well,
go watch this on YouTube. It's all real.
Uncle Dave said, which is obviously a bit of a exaggeration. I'd have to go back and watch. I don't remember that part.
I don't think it was an exaggeration. I feel like that was true.
Well, the press release also said that wrestling is, quote, neither a sport nor a form of entertainment fit for a civilized people, end quote. Oh, well then, I found their new tagline.
John Stossel write that?
Right. Hey, WWE, neither a sport nor a form of entertainment fit for a civilized people.
I'm kind of offended.
That could be a new shirt, man. I could see it now. They should have capitalized on that. I'd have bought that shirt. But
I can see Chris Jericho wearing that nowadays.
Good Lord, yeah, right. That should be their new announcement before their music hits. We're not done with the lamestream media yet. This one is about one person in particular, and it's dumb. The AP news story about yeah, the AP news story about Kurt Angle ran in newspapers around the country this week, basically talking about Angle transitioning from Olympic amateur wrestler to pro wrestling, and all the people criticizing him for it. The story also talked about Angle's wife possibly joining him in WWF and becoming his valet. Not yet. Yeah, they're about a decade too far ahead of their time. But yeah, I just like how in the story they're like, people are so disappointed that he became a pro wrestler. Like to Angle's own, like out of Angle's own mouth, like he's like, well, I wasn't really planning on going back to the Olympics, and he's like, the endorsement deals were kind of drying up. He's like, I had to do something to make money, and he became possibly
people still think
that
these athletes are just paid to be in the Olympics, don't they?
Yeah, right. And it's like, okay, if you get multiple medals or you find a way to stay relevant for long enough, you can get some good endorsement deals, whatever.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps. Who's that? The hot gymnast girl. I think she was a gymnast that is like famous for doing like a dirty look or whatever the hell. She was in some insurance commercial not too long ago.
Oh yeah. I know her, what she looks like. I can't think of her name.
Yeah. I have no idea who the hell she is. Apparently, like I said, apparently she did gymnastics or some such nonsense. But yeah, so I'm sure the endorsement deals are, done, drying up for her too. And then there's Simone. Well, like Simone Biles kept herself relevant long enough. So there you go.
You she signed on with Subway.
Yeah. Hey, you got to start when you're young. She got in there at a fairly young age, whereas someone like Kurt Angle, I think he was one and done, man.
Well, he did medal in the hardest Olympic sport to medal in, apparently.
Yeah, right. But he broke his freaking neck in the process. So there you go. Uncle Dave mentions that, well, and this is going to go nowhere, by the way. I just got to preface that. Uncle Dave mentions that, quote, a name to look out for is Brock Lesnar, who is a junior at the University of Minnesota and currently ranked number 2 in the country as a heavyweight amateur wrestler. Rumor is that WWF is interested in signing him one of these days. That will never go anywhere. I've never heard of, what is this, Bork Lesnar? Like, who the hell is that?
Brock, I think he's the quarterback for the 49ers.
Oh, right? Yeah. Big something that rhymes with Brock.
Good Lord, I didn't say it.
I love how that sign got on TV, by the way. Like, people are just throwing that around now. And didn't he went down in the championship game, didn't he? And kind of blew the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he hurt his elbow really bad.
Yeah. Well, I should preface that. He didn't blow it. He went down and his team blew it. So there's that. Freaking damn Philadelphia, man. Like, I mean, not that I was like, yeah, I want to see the Niners in the Super Bowl, but I just don't like anything from Philly. So the Eagles getting in kind of like, ugh. But I know I can guess who you're rooting for in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, fly Eagles, fly. Go Philly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, who are you gonna root for? The Eagles or Kermit the Frog? Yeah, that's a tough one. Anyway, getting into WCW side of things here, Lex Luger suffered a torn bicep in a house show match with Conan and is expected to be out for 3 months. Luger has been very vocal about blaming Conan for the injury. He still expects to work Super Brawl. He's in a tag match with Kevin Nash against Rey Mysterio and Conan with Rey's mask on the line versus Elizabeth's hair, but it's expected.
I was there.
Oh, you were there for the mask versus hair?
Yeah.
Is that where Rey lost the mask?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you got to see history, man. Not good history, but history nonetheless.
I've seen 2 unmaskings actually at that event.
Who is the other one?
Juventud.
He unmasked on the same show?
Not the same show, same event.
Oh, okay. Oh man, freaking Bischoff. But anyway, I like this last line. It's expected that Nash will do most of the heavy lifting in the match. Wasn't it Hall? I mean, Nash was in the match, but
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I feel like it was Hall. Yeah, I feel like Luger was just there. I don't think he was in the match.
We'll have to review that event one of these days.
If I remember correctly, this one was in Oakland, not in the Cow Palace. One was in Oakland. I don't remember if it was this one or that last one.
I know didn't WCW like going to the Cow Palace usually?
Oh yeah.
WCW's Lucha Libre show with Telemundo won't be happening. WCW spent more than $300,000 filming the pilot episode in Waco, Texas, a random ass place to film, a few weeks ago, but it was
probably cheap.
Yeah, right. But it was a disaster with bad matches and nobody even knowing who was going to show up until right before the show because they were trying to bring in CMLL wrestlers who were having trouble crossing the border. God, leave that one alone. The CMLL president, Paco Alonso, decided to make a deal with WWF to send wrestlers there. So basically, the whole thing just turned into a mess, and Eric Bischoff decided to pull the plug on it. The pilot they filmed won't even be airing.
Oh.
Making this the second worst thing to happen in Waco. Oh, God. I didn't even know that was a thing. They were planning a Lucha Libre show? Because, they treated the Luchas with such reverence in WCW,
As we just said, by the way.
Right. There was Psychosis, Juventud, Ray, and then the rest of them.
All three of which you named lost their mask, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, did Psychosis lose his mask in WCW?
I want to say he lost it on Nitro against Kidman.
Wow. See, I don't remember that. I remember him showing up in WWE without it, and I was like, whoa, that was jarring. But I still don't understand. Like, you figure with the merchandising that WWE did with Ray, you think they would have put the masks back on Hoovy and Psychosis and been like, let's make some money off of it, sell some masks.
Oh no, they decided to keep one mask and put them on lawnmowers.
Yeah, throw them on a lawnmower and have them ride out to the ring. Because, that's not incredibly racist or anything. Next, we're going to bring in...
that was Juventud's idea.
Well, next, we're going to bring in, a bunch of female luchadoras and dress them up like maids and send them out to the ring.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, God. Some of the stuff... And, yeah, it was Hoovy's... I'm sure it was Hoovy's idea. But Vince's reaction shouldn't have been, ha ha, God dang it, pal, that's good crap. It probably should have been along the lines of, no. More like, hell no. And then we've got John Cena wearing a mask years later, calling himself Juan Cena. That was something. Anyway, WCW and NBC are still in talks for them to be airing specials after the NBA season ends. Doesn't happen. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal with any of this was. And maybe it was because WCW wasn't as valuable at this time. But outside of wrestling, but still involving WCW, Goldberg got a lot of media publicity for his appearance before Congress recently, where he spoke out against dogfighting and cockfighting and about being an animal rights activist. He also appeared on Regis and Kathy Lee and will be on Jay Leno's show next week. Well, how about that? You mean the guy who headbutts lockers before matches? He's a big animal rights activist, and he's appearing before Congress. That blows my mind more than anything in this story.
Can you imagine Goldberg walking into the U.S. Congress?
Yeah, right. Oh, man. That's
a mountain of a man.
A whole lot of beef. That was like that. It'd be like that scene in Superman where he appears before Congress. Or, excuse me, it was Batman versus Superman. You remember that part?
Where they handcuffed him. Which is kind of funny. Hindsight.
Yeah, right.
That's become one of my favorite memes. Like, blah, 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 whatever. Just remember, they once handcuffed Superman.
Well, I'm going to assume that Goldberg's appearance before Congress involved less jars full of piss. So if people don't get that reference, go back and watch Batman v Superman. That was, or maybe don't. That's that was a movie. Anyway, there's some backstage drama in WCW over how to book Bret Hart. You don't say. The idea has been to build it up to a Hollywood Hogan versus Bret Hart match at Halloween Havoc later in the year. At a recent booking meeting, DDP pitched the idea of having Hart do a job for Booker T, since Booker T has put over Hart 3 times in the last 3 months. And Hart didn't necessarily have a problem doing a job to Booker.
Why would you want to do anything for Booker T? What's he ever going to accomplish?
Right. Well, I guess it says Hart didn't necessarily have a problem with doing a job to Booker, but he pointed out that if he's being built up to challenge Hogan, he probably shouldn't be jobbing to mid-card guys along the way. I mean, I can understand that. Kevin Nash, the head booker, doesn't feel that Hart is over enough and doesn't want to do a Hogan versus Hart match anyway. Well, why the hell do you think he's not over enough? Like, could it be, I don't know, maybe something we did? Like, how have we been booking him? But, God, anyway.
Or garbage comes to mind.
Basically, it led to Hart and Nash getting into an argument because Hart says all they want him to do is to job to people, and it doesn't make sense if he's going to be facing Hogan. Nash went to Eric Bischoff, complaining that Hart was being uncooperative and didn't want to put anyone over.
I feel like I remember watching Bret Hart lose to Finlay. Not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you're trying to make him mean something, like, God, he's got to win. But on one hand, Bischoff feels that Bret needs to be pushed harder in order to justify the huge contract they gave him. But Nash thinks that...
Who started it all?
Right. But Nash thinks that Hart is overpaid, not over with the fans, and doesn't want to push him at all. In the end, Nash got his way this week, and Bret dropped the U.S. title to Roddy Piper on Nitro, even though Piper's bad hip may need another surgery. He's in terrible pain lately and can barely effing move. I wonder why Bret never got over in WCW. Stupid. There you go. WCW Thunder was so bad this week that by the end of the show, fans were chanting...
I don't believe you.
By the end of the show, fans were chanting Backlash, which is the name of the WWF pay-per-view that will be held in the same arena in April.
Oh, my God.
You mean Thunder sucked? No way. Oh, man.
Who the hell chants for Backlash?
I know, right? That's a random-ass chant if I ever did hear one.
I'm trying to remember if Backlash 99 was good.
Well, this was the first one, so I don't know. But
this was the infamous Boiler Room Brawl match with Big Show and Mankind.
Oh,
if I remember correctly. There's no way Thunder was worse than that. There's no way in hell.
Right. Well, here's some reassurance, Greg. The barbed wire that the Sandman used in his debut on WCW was confirmed to be fake rubber barbed wire. Oh, well, thank God.
When one of the fans grips the hell out of it, you could,
Right. Uncle Dave said it looked real enough, and he's like, yeah, if you can get away with it, why are you going to wrap yourself in real barbed wire? Like, it's dumb.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's not like the Sandman would ever do something stupid.
Yeah, right. We mentioned this guy earlier. This is a sad story about him, though. Psychosis has been taken off TV in recent weeks because his pregnant wife had a miscarriage, so he's been off dealing with that.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's awful. Marcus Bagwell has been given limited clearance to start easing back into wrestling again after his scary neck injury last year. If nobody knows, we've talked about it on multiple shows in the past. He took that bulldog from Rick Steiner that Rick has done a million effing times. He landed wrong, and they thought Buff might actually be paralyzed. They could have, used that to make him a huge baby face, but nope, Swerve, bro, he's a heel.
Back in the NWO.
Yep.
Lazy booking.
It sucked. Like, why? The fans were ready, man. But nope, back in the NWO. WCW is reportedly offering Chris Jericho.
It didn't elevate Rick Steiner anywhere either.
Nope, nobody benefited. They just moved the F on. But WCW is reportedly offering Chris Jericho a $750,000 per year deal to stay, but he hasn't accepted it. Uncle Dave doesn't think that the WWF will even come close to matching that offer financially, but the WWF does offer a lot of other obvious advantages that WCW doesn't. Well, wouldn't you know who won the pony? Obviously, I don't know what Jericho signed for. I don't really care, but yeah, I think he made the right choice. This is where it starts getting these.
Well, when you go from doing stupid stuff to interrupting The Rock.
Yeah,
Can
right.
you get any higher than that?
Yep. And then he became a multi-time world champion. So there you go.
Yeah, Osho.
Well, these next couple stories were kind of scary, but the guys pulled through. They're fine. Perry Saturn and Shane Douglas both had heart scares this week. In Saturn's case, he was having shortness of breath and kept getting worse at his hotel, and he tried to drive himself to the hospital, but he got to the point where he almost couldn't breathe at all. He stopped at a toll booth and alerted the people there, who called an ambulance, and they had him rushed to the hospital.
Jeez.
He had EKG tests done that concerned the doctors, and they wanted to keep him overnight, but he checked himself out against their wishes and flew home to Atlanta. He had more tests done when he got home and is hoping to be cleared to return to the ring again soon. Saturn has been wrestling with a back injury, compressed vertebrae and discs and whatnot, and he believes that something related to that sent him into a panic attack, which made his heart go nuts, thus the EKG readings. Yeah, I don't think he really had any issues after that. So, and he kept wrestling for years after this, so he must have been fine.
You're welcome.
In Shane Douglas'
Yeah, that's
case,
coming up, by the way.
in Shane Douglas's case, he was also in the car driving back from a show when he started suffering heart attack symptoms and went to the hospital. There's no word if he actually had a heart attack or not, and he's been in the hospital for 3 days, so it's probably something serious. Douglas is telling people that he expects to be back at shows this week, although he won't be wrestling. Yeah, well, he still has his stint in WCW to go.
Why the hell would you go back to the show if you have a... Why would you go back to be on the show if you have just a heart issue? Wrestling or not?
I know. It's like, chill out, man. Like, just take it easy. I mean, obviously they didn't
Whatever
find
they're paying
anything.
you, it's not enough.
Right. I'm assuming they didn't find anything, because if they had, I don't think he would have been wrestling ever again. But... And then, like I said, he went to WCW after this, and I can almost guarantee they had more stringent, health evaluations than ECW.
What makes you think that?
Oh, I don't know. But speaking of which, well, before we wrap up the news here, we'll get into this. Bob Backlund announced that he will be running for Congress as a Republican in his home state of Connecticut in the 2000 election against incumbent Democrat Congressman John Larson. Backlund still wrestles indies occasionally, and when announcing his plans to run, he spoke about Jesse Ventura's success in becoming governor of Minnesota. Backlund had previously considered running for Senate in 1998, but it never panned out.
I remember in the Royal Rumble 2000, he makes an appearance, and Jim Ross makes a comment when he runs to the crowd. He goes, looking for Connecticut registered voters.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. That's, he was something else, man. But let's wrap up the news with a couple of stories, and I'm saving this for last because it will go into the pay-per-view. So, this week in ECW. If I may have another volley.
Sir.
At an ECW house show, RVD did his big dive from the ring into the crowd, but he ended up taking out a fan who was knocked unconscious, that was down on the ground. He was down on the ground for a while before being taken out in an ambulance. Man. I'm assuming Paul E. and his lawyer father just threw a bunch of money at this person so they wouldn't sue.
My Jewish father is a lawyer, sir.
No, that's impossible. Implausible, I say. Yeah, good Lord. Maybe don't do that, Rob. Or maybe security should have backed him up. Yeah, right. So Public Enemy will be likely finishing up with ECW again after next month's pay-per-view. Word is that Say what?
Bye.
Well, word is that WWF has offered them a contract. There's also rumors that they're in negotiations to return to WCW, so who knows? Well, they did go to WWF, and, they got the piss beat out of them by the APA, so there's that. If anybody cares to look that up, man, Farouk and Bradshaw just beat the brakes off those two. It was rough to watch. But Tajiri versus Super Crazy on this week's ECW TV show is the best U.S. match so far this year, according to Uncle Dave. Granted, we're only 2 months in, but still. Sure? I'm just going to take your word for it, because I don't even know what to say. I mean, not that it's a bad match by any means, but really? Tammy Sitch. This is a story that we just keep going and going for decades, unfortunately. Tammy Sitch was arrested last week at her mother's house for violating a restraining order because she's not supposed to be on the property. Chris Candido missed a couple of ECW shows dealing with that. She was released the next day.
Wow. 2023. Nothing's changed.
Nope. We talked about this. It's like, how bad do you have to be where your mother has a restraining order on you? God. So, here goes Uncle Dave with this. Dawn Marie not only had breast implants done, but she also allegedly had her lips, cheeks, and thighs done as well.
She was all the way live.
Yeah, right. She didn't need plastic surgery. I don't know if I'm assuming she followed through with it. I don't know, but yeah. But thanks for the update, Dave. I'm glad you know all this. Either way, that'll do it for the news and notes. Ready to get into, I guess we'll call it an event?
No.
Well, we're going to get it over with right after this next break.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan. Yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
we shared the room.
Shared a room?
We shared the room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast?
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The Broadcast. Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah, well.
What do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAST. I nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. We spell it with a K.
Salute, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back.
We're back.
It's ECW Crossing the Line 99. The date was February 12th, 1999. The venue, Elks Lodge 878 in the Queens neighborhood of New York City, New York.
I had to look this up, dude. The building looks like a damn post office.
Yeah.
Not even joking.
I was like, what? Like, this is a rando-ass arena, man. Or, well, not arena, but a damn Elks Lodge. Whatever. But
how many people were there, does it say?
Say what?
How many people were there?
Allegedly 1,000. So I don't know. That's about what you can squeeze into the soundstage.
Allegedly well over 500.
Right. But we get right into the show. Joey Styles is the solo commentator per usual. When we get Little Guido Maritato with Big Sally Graziano taking on Chris Chetti in about 6 minutes.
Big Sal is like freaking mountain.
Yeah, he's not called Big Sal because of just for a nickname. I mean, it's real. This is real. But Big Sal interferes behind the ref's back a handful of times. At one point, he gets on the apron and Chetti drop kicks Guido into him. In the end, Chetti hits the Amityville Horror, followed by a springboard moonsault to win. I was kind of shocked by that one because Chris Chetti wasn't really established by this point. But I give it 1.5 stars. Uncle Dave did not rate any of this. What do you say?
I gave it 2. It was fine.
It was one of the best things we'd see on. It wasn't great, but it wasn't one of the. It was probably one of the best things we'd see on this card, which is saying a lot about what we're about to watch. So there you go. But Joey Styles says,
"Get ready for the next one."
Yeah. Joey Styles teases that tonight we're going to find out the Dudley Boyz' mysterious benefactor and whether or not Shane Douglas will retire. Oh, joy. But before the next match starts, after Danny Doring, Roadkill, Balls Mahoney, and Axel Rotten come out, Doring says that he has a heart-shaped box. Doring shows that he has a heart-shaped box of candies and says that for Valentine's Day, he's going to give it to a very special woman. Doring then says that he's going to give it to the most attractive person he knows, Roadkill.
Okay, I can't argue with that.
Chickens. But Roadkill throws the candies away, and Danny says that he wouldn't give candies to any whore in Queens, and he likes Philly way better. I mean, is that just like I like diarrhea better than constipation? Like,
do you remember that scene in Superbad? Here's what see that, Muhammad. What the that, Muhammad? What the hell is it Philly in New York and Queens?
Yeah, right. That's like, oh man. He then goes on a rant about being a real wrestler and not needing chairs. So this match is dastardly Danny Doring and Roadkill taking on the chair-swinging freaks of Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten. Goes about
How
6
do
minutes.
they not call this team Rotten Balls?
Right? It was right there. God. But this goes 6 minutes, 44 seconds. Of course, this, quote, wrestling match doesn't last long. Doring gets taken out. Then Mahoney and Rotten take turns blasting Roadkill with chairs before Balls pins him to win. I gave it a whole half a star. What say you?
Barely gave it 1.
This sucked. Anything involving the chair swinging freaks, I instantly am like, all right, it's going to start off at 1 star. It can either go up or down from there. And I like Doring and Roadkill. I mean, they get better as time goes on. In 2000, I think they hit their stride. But God, this sucked. Joey Styles is alone in the ring next, hyping up the crowd before calling out ECW champion Taz. Taz comes out and says that he'll choke out anyone in the locker room, anyone from WCW or anyone from WWF. He then puts over New York City, drops his catchphrase, and fucks off.
Wow.
I guess I thought there was going to be something that happened. And I'm like, no, he just came out to be like, hey, everybody. Bye, everybody. Cool. And now Shane Douglas and Francine come out to the ring next. Shane's carrying his wrestling boots with him. They're both tearing up as the crowd chants, please don't go. Shane says that the last year of his life has been the hardest he's ever lived. And then he puts his boots down in the center of the ring. Shane says that many reports about him are true, but many are greatly exaggerated. I don't know what he's referring to. He puts over Taz before saying it's time to hang up the boots. Douglas says that he will never leave because he can work behind the scenes to help, but ECW has enough studs on the roster to keep the revolution going. God, and it's time to call it a career. Shane said, yeah. Shane says that the next person to fill his boots and become the next franchise is, and he's interrupted by Jason, Jazz, and Just Incredible. The Jays. And one of them gives me hives. But Incredible puts himself over, calls Shane Gramps, and says that he's the next franchise. Lance Storm and all his charisma interrupts now and says that while Justin is just incredible, he can do it all. Cool. I get. So you're better than incredible, I guess? I don't know. This was a dumb promo. And he says, just like Bret Hart carried the WWF, he will carry ECW as the next franchise. Sure. Shane interrupts their bickering with some vulgarity and then says that the next franchise is actually Tommy Dreamer. Didn't see that one coming. Credible blast Francine in the face with a Singapore cane. Dude, she effing ate that, man. Before he and Storm beat up Shane Douglas, Tommy Dreamer runs out and gets beaten up for his troubles. Francine tries to protect Shane and gets kicked before Shane gets beat up some more. Joey Styles makes sure to call Credible and Storm, quote, the impact players of ECW. I wonder what that could mean. Yeah, I'm not cool with I know it's kayfabe and whatever, but it's kind of hard to fake a Singapore cane shot to the face. I don't know. I wasn't cool with this. But then again, it's not like this is the first time that Francine's gotten beaten up by dudes.
Really?
Yeah. Bro, abuser. It's almost as if Vince Russo's helping to write this crap. Anyway, up next is an actual match. How about that? It's Super Crazy versus Yoshihiro Tajiri in 7 minutes, 15 seconds. After a crazy match, Super Crazy hits 2 springboard missile dropkicks, followed by a springboard frog splash for the win. I gave it 2.5 stars. If it would have went longer, I probably would have bumped it to 3, but what do you say?
I gave it 2. It was a complete car wreck. It was crazy to watch.
Yeah, it was like watching a cruiserweight match over in WCW. It was fun, but yeah, to your point, it was a car wreck, and it was short. Speaking of car wrecks, up next, we've got the human car wreck himself, Sabu. And he's got Bill Alfonso in his corner, defending the FTW championship against Skull Von Crush.
And in 2023, that title's still on TV, folks.
Yeah, right. But who is not still on TV is Skull Von Crush. To anybody who doesn't know who that is, it's the future Vito. Why he was
that wore the dress.
Yes. Why he was doing a, I guess, Russian gimmick here, I have no idea. They picked the stupidest possible name ever. All right. This goes for 6 minutes.
Opinion.
That's right up there with Ice Dagger and Chili McFreeze. But Sabu misses the double leg takedown to start the match because he goes for that every match and never gets it. Like, why? I guess that's like Ric Flair going to the top rope. He never hits it, but he still does.
You gotta keep trying, dude.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to hit it one of these days, damn it. Like Shaq, putting up the free throws. Eventually he'll hit one. But once Sabu pulls Skull through a table, or puts Skull through a table, he grabs a mic and calls out Taz. So I guess the match is over, I guess? But he calls out Taz in the middle of this damn match, who gladly comes out and starts fighting with Sabu. Okay. For the car wreck that happened for the first 6 minutes, I said it was a 1.5 stars, 2 stars, somewhere in that vicinity. What say you?
I was enjoying it until this, when I dropped it down to a 1.
Yeah. It had potential, but yeah, what the hell? This was a thing in ECW. They hardly ever actually ended a match. Like, something would just happen, and then it's like, oh, yeah, there was a match. Anyway, moving on.
Bro, we don't wrestle, bro.
Bro, nobody cares, bro. They want to hear more talking, bro. Angles.
I'm entertained by this, bro.
As a pure TV viewer, I'm entertained by this, bro. God, what an idiot. So security and other wrestlers hit the ring to break it up, and both men try to fight through them all. They get Taz out of the ring, and Sabu springboard dives on top of everyone. #dive. Taz gets back in the ring and calls Sabu back in. They brawl some more as everyone tries to break them up. And then we do the flipping of the scenes, and next up, the Dudley Boyz are in the ring, and Joel Gertner drops his usual promo about banging everyone's mom.
Let me try to get some heat on myself here. Is Sabu good for anything? Like, at all?
Is who good for anything?
Sabu.
Oh.
What the hell has he ever really done? And what's he good for?
He dives off of things and goes through things.
And he points his hands to the sky.
Yeah, there you go. I will say this. I've been entertained by some stuff he's done, but he can't be in the ring with just, like, anybody, and I care about it. He needs to be in the ring with somebody like Van Dam or Jerry Lynn or Taz.
He's done. He's leaving. These are my favorite part.
I'm not as harsh of a critic of Sabu as you are. I'm not like a Sabu fan or anything, but he's all right. I have a Jax figure of him.
Do not make the tells of him.
Yeah. I don't think that one's ever going to happen. Although maybe when he's finally ready to stop jumping through things, he'll retire and WWE will put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Joel Gertner's promo here is literally just, everybody in the crowd, I banged your mother. And then Bubba Ray gets up.
Sexual innuendos. That's all I got.
Right. Well. If it isn't I, the man who banged your mother, and then peed in the tank of your toilet so that when you flush, more pee comes out. Anyway.
Wow. Did you really say that?
No.
Oh, crap.
There's a thing from The Office where one of the characters is like, yeah, my son learned this new thing he does all the time where he craps in the tank of the toilet. So when you flush, crap comes out. He calls it an upper decker.
Oh, your son created that, huh?
Right. If nobody believes me, go to Urban Dictionary. It's on there. Anyway, or you can take my word for it. But Bubba Ray says that the Dudleys taught the Public Enemy the true meaning of hardcore, and that the Public Enemy is not there tonight. He runs down the Public Enemy. I know. They're who I paid for, damn it. But he runs down the Public Enemy more and tries to say that they went to the WWF. And he says to watch their crappy pay-per-view this weekend. Yeah, because this has been gold, Bubba. But Bubba says that the crowd cheers for them now, but they were never there for them when they were becoming the best tag team in wrestling. New Jack now comes out and drops a whole lot of vulgarities. He talks about facing the Dudleys, and Bubba tells him to go get himself a partner, like Cronus or Spike Dudley. New Jack says he's got himself a partner, and then Mustafa comes out. Mustafa comes out with a trash can full of crap. I guess he's been gone for a while.
It's Mr. Mustafa now.
Well, it's about...
They make sure to tell you the hell out of that on commentary.
Right. Well, they beat up the Dudleys for a bit before Mustafa blasts a guitar over New Jack's head. Joey Styles claims that Mustafa has been paid off by the Dudley Boys. And... the Dudleys then team up on New Jack. Some idiot keeps ringing the damn bell as they bust New Jack wide open, hit him with a 3D, and keep beating him up, and yet still the bell keeps freaking ringing. John Cronus and Spike Dudley now come out, and they get beat up as well. Mustafa pulls out a wad of cash and splits it amongst the Dudley Boys as Joel Gertner reveals that Mr. Mustafa is their mysterious benefactor. Okay. To which I ask, why? I don't get any of this. Like, why do they need a benefactor? Why is it
Was this a match, by the way?
Not really. Because
it was good. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't rate it. I didn't think it was a match.
No, it was just a segment with some beatings going on. There's a lot of them. We get one
exactly. Which is why I was confused.
Right. Well, we get a couple more of those. So next up, Lance Storm comes to the ring again to cut a promo, saying that Tammy Lynn Sitch couldn't handle it in ECW anymore and took off. Oh, man. He insults her and says that she needs plastic surgery. Oh, God. He then says that his new manager is Beulah McGillicuddy, but the woman who comes through the curtain is Dawn Marie. Tommy Dreamer now runs out to jump.
Live.
You ain't kidding. Tommy Dreamer now runs out to jump Lance Storm, but Just Incredible comes out and double teams Tommy until Shane Douglas comes out and clears the ring. Jason tries to sneak up behind Shane, but Francine comes out of nowhere and spears the piss out of him. He takes off as Shane holds Francine back. Shane and Tommy hug as the crowd goes nuts. Because, Greg, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug. Bam, got it in. Anyway, so this is our second to last match of the night, if you want to call it a match. It's Steve Corino versus John Cronus. And this is another one of those where I guess it just ends. Like, there's no finish, it just ends. And I'll explain what I mean here in a second. So this match gets thrown out, I guess, in pretty short order because Corino hits a powerbomb, and then the guy who I want to call him Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers loses his crap too. Judge Jeff Jones comes out with a mic. God. So Judge Jones says, ask Carino if he knows the severity of the crime he just committed, because he is not to use that move around here. He says that move belongs to the master. And Sid comes out wearing jeans. Crowd blows for the master and ruler of the world. And Sid chokeslams Steve Carino straight out of the ring. Yikes. He just like picked that MFer up and just herked him over the top rope.
I feel bad for him a little bit.
I did too, especially about, what's about to happen. And then he powerbombs Cronus. Crowd wants more. So Sid brings Carino into the ring and powerbombs him. The crowd chants one more time because they're sick bastards. Sid listens and he powerbombs Steve Carino again. When the crowd chants one more time again, Sid powerbombs Cronus and then leaves. It looks like Judge Jeff Jones gives last rites to both men before he leaves too.
Right. Well, you forgot to say Hail Mary.
Yeah, I was like, hot damn. Yeah, this was something. I don't think Sid sticks around. I think he's about to pop up in WCW, but whatever.
Yeah, he's going to be the Millennium Man like a year.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, it's main event time. We'll be wrapping all this up right after this.
Thank heavens.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan McCarthy, and I'm the host of the No Credentials Required podcast. Start your work week with the Monday Drop-In, where I talk about the sports beat in the Capital District, also known as the Muddy 518, as well as Metro New York sports from an upstate point of view. I also give a life lesson from a weekly sports story, so you might learn something from that. I also have a midweek podcast where I interview different sports personalities and talk about a wide array of topics. Take a listen and subscribe on your preferred podcast app, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check out our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram, BellyUpNCR, and Facebook.com/BellyUpSportsNCR. We're a part of the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network in association with Godzilla Media. No credentials required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Hey gang, it's Commissioner Cooper of TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. Expert fantasy advice, free contests, leading expert medical and legal analysis, and most importantly, you. Interact with us on all social media platforms or check us out at tssfantasy.com. You can hear us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Check out the fun today and be a part of the most interactive fantasy show around. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
Survive by web shoes.
Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Main event time. This was obviously match of the night because what the hell else would it be? Yeah. It is Rob Van Dam with Bill Alfonso in his corner defending the ECW World Television title. Unfortunately.
How did RVD never just kick that thing down his damn throat?
I would have taken it, shoved it right up his ass. Like, good Lord, dude. Well, actually, I don't know if I want to do that because every time he farts, then you'd hear it throughout the arena. But either way.
Wow, why do you go right to that?
Well, what else would happen if he shoved it up his ass? But anyway. But it's Rob Van Dam defending the ECW World's Television title against Jerry Lynn. And this goes... Yeah, that. This goes 17 minutes, 44 seconds. Most of these didn't have official times, so I actually sat and timed it myself. But this was, per usual, a great match. Again, per usual, Alfonso gets involved a lot. In the end, RVD hits...
Everybody use the face, right?
I think? I don't know.
I was saying he was always like He was always cheered. And Alfonso was always being dubious.
Yeah, like I think Alfonso's the heel here, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I think Sabu was the face earlier, and he was with Sabu, so maybe he is a babyface. I don't know. But in the end, Rob Van Dam hits the 5-star frog splash to win. And I gave this trace stars. What say you?
Yeah, same.
I mean, if you're going to grade it on the ECW scale, it was higher, but I'm grading on reality, so it was 3 stars. They've had better matches, but this one was pretty damn good. And like we had mentioned, best thing of the night. But RVD and Bill Alfonso celebrate to close the show as Joey Styles thanks us for watching. Yeah, you should be thanks
for watching. I wanted to kick you in the face when you watch this.
I was like, you better thank us for watching because this was a chore. But that brings us to the end here. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to tell you our final ratings and what's coming up in the future of this here podcast.
It's going to get better.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
What's up, everybody? I am the hardest part of the ring, the host of the Apron Bump podcast. Ugh, another wrestling podcast. How many times can I listen to fans tell me who needs a push, who doesn't need a push, who brings Vince's coffee these days? Enough! The Apron Bump is about the journey. It's about nostalgia. It's about discovering new forms of wrestling to really tickle your pickle as a wrestling fan. The podcast brings you reviews of wrestling events all over the world, whether it's WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW. We even cover the golden eras of Ring of Honor, Progress, TNA, and more promotions in the future as well. New episodes every Wednesday. Bump Day, yeah? Go to apronbump.com or go to your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and subscribe today for the most diverse, fan-friendly wrestling podcast in the world. I'm Hard.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back. Final ratings here. Nobody rated it, so it's just me and Greg's ratings this week. I rated it 5 out of 10 for an F. What say you?
Solid F.
Yeah. Maybe an F+. I don't know, but it's bad. It's really bad.
I guess an F for F-U, TJ, for making me watch this crap. That's what that F's for.
Oh, well. Oh, Lord. Yeah, this sucked. But either way, coming up on the podcast, next week is double main event week, so we got 2 shows coming at you. First, on February 15th, it is WCW Super Brawl 2. We're going back to the year 1992 for this one. Should be good. And then on Friday is WWF Raw from February 5th, 2001.
Where was that at?
That is the last Raw from the Georgia Dome. So that is
happening.
Go back and
listen to the intro of the podcast, by the way. I explained it.
Right. Well, that does it for us. Thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Yeah, I hate you for this.
You're welcome. And we'll see you next week for Double Main Event Week.